Today's video is about prejudice, stereotypes, and discrimination. Have you ever thought about how long it takes for you to get a first impression of someone? Maybe 30 seconds? Or 10? No, it's actually only 1/10 of a second that it takes for you to form an opinion of an unknown person. This shows that we are often prone to make hasty generalizations by quickly forming an opinion about a stranger. The first thing I want to introduce to you is prejudice. A prejudice is a preconceived opinion or attitude that is not based on knowledge, experience, thought, or reason. Then we have stereotypes. A stereotype is the assumption or belief that members of a culture are a certain way. Another term that is very important in this context is bias. A bias is a strong tendency of the mind towards something. Stereotypes and prejudice kind of go together with the halo effect. They're all about having bias on people's overall impression. This then influences how we think about them without ever exchanging a single word. A real-life example with which you can probably identify yourself with is when you step in a bus full of people. Then everyone makes assumptions about the other passengers when deciding where to sit. If you see an old man with a grumpy look on his face, you might think that he's rude and therefore you might prefer to sit next to a young high school student instead. In this case, we create a profile and put people into categories just from seeing how they look. We decide next to who we want to sit based on past experiences with people that seem to be from the same category as them. This is a very good example of stereotyping. Now comes the part that you've probably asked yourself throughout the video. What is bad about having stereotypes? The answer is that when stereotypes combine with prejudice, discrimination can happen. Discrimination is the treatment of groups of people rather than individual people, especially in the groups of race, age, and sex. So let's assume you think that fat people are lazy. Then you have a prejudice against fat people. But if you decide not to hire someone because he's fat, then you've passed over from prejudice to now discriminating against them. And this can happen fast and unintentionally. So how can you fight against stereotypes and prejudice? The first thing you could do is to take the implicit bias test. The link to the website is in the information box below. Also, to simply admit to yourself that everyone has stereotypes, even you do. And next time when you meet new people, keep that in mind. Expose yourself to people who are in different groups than you are. This could be through travel, for example. Just step outside of your comfort zone and get to know people who are different from you, thus increasing your universe of obligation. Or you could simply raise awareness to people who are surrounding you. For example, when you're having a conversation with your friend, you could tell them to take the implicit bias test. Of course, there is much more that can be done in order to fight stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. But starting small is a step in the right direction.